Blue Star Saber here once again to discuss another One Piece chapter review. Also, for all the lovely couples out there, happy Valentine's Day. I'm single, as you could probably guess, but oh well. Never mind. Anyway, chapter 1040, Wasted Words on Young Ears. Before we get into the chapter cover page, we're beginning with the cover page of Jammer 66R, An Emotionless Excursion, Volume 4, A Creature Beyond the Power of Science, as both Nichi and Yonji are thinking about how Big Mom is easily bested them as they're thinking, as we can see her punching the living daylights out of Yonji and grabbing Nichi by the neck as Whole Cake Island citizens are looking in the background and all that stuff. They're trapped in the book and all that stuff. A bit fit in some ways. It's kind of fitting how we see Big Mom beating these two, just as this chapter is pretty much showing her defeat, if you will. Anyway, on to the actual chapter, which I've probably just pretty much can spoil and all that stuff. But yeah, as we felt a lot from like Kid's laser attack at the moment, as we see where it is presently, when it's on the top of on the bottom of the skull thing, and where the hole is, where they're going to send her flying eventually. Big Mom, no, Kid keeps firing the laser. Big Mom still isn't moving, still isn't going down just yet. Much to the shock of like the Beast Pirates crew, despite the fact that there's a hole down there to get blasted to. Shocking them and all that stuff. Let's see. Same with like a Law's crew and all that stuff, as Big Mom keeps trying to grab on and hold on to all that stuff. With Big Mom telling them to make the choice. You can either settle to die or live as slaves and all that stuff. As she's as she demands as she does her life or slavery, her soul focus ability. Either give her lifespan or do as she commands. And let's see, she's determined to make them slaves at this point. With like the Beast Pirates shocked that it's the sole focus as everyone tries to run, as let's see, she's taking lifespan from everyone, including Beast Pirates there. Goes to show you that she has little regard for the Ursa grunts of like Kaido's crew. Well, granted, sometimes her own crew as well, to be fair. Let's see, with them with them commenting on how no creature on the brink of death is as terrifying or as powerful as Big Mom. With the Law's pirate crew, just as their souls are about to be sucked, telling their captains get out of there. The Law tells them to follow on the advice, much they're shocked. And Kid says, why should they be afraid of the weak words of some old lady who's outlived her welcome, as she's just about to be defeated, if you will. But anyway, Kid ends up using a move called Re-Room, as he comments about how he can only imagine how hideous her death screams will be, but as he's about to use a new attack, though many of the people are shocked that neither of them are losing any of their lifespan, showing that the fact they have no ounce of fear of her and all that stuff. But anyway, the Misery homing attack is trying to attack Law to try and save Big Mom. Let's see. As Law comments about this is what his savior would have done. As Kid just comments how Big Mom doesn't know how to give up and ends up just says he'll just give her a hand along the way as he's continuing his laser attack. As Law ends up using the new Ritzy Re-Room technique, Silence, in which all sound is phalange, and apparently it's a technique that extinguishes all sound created, but based off of Kozen's own technique, if you will. Big Mom realizing she can't speak, as Law says he can't hear you and all that stuff. As one of the crewmates tells Law to sit behind him, but Kid continues using the damned punk laser attack, and I believe Law slices the Misery in half, possibly killing it, but who knows? I'm not entirely sure. Or at least knocking it out. because you know how Big Mom's souls are either alive or dead. So those who are imbued with Big Mom's souls seem to have a bit of a stronger endurance and lifespan compared to regular homies. But anyway, this finally starts push. Anyway, the kids attack combined with Laws finally starts to push Big Mom all the way down. As she tries to command Prometheus or Hera to come and save her, but they can't hear her and all that stuff. She ends up crashing down to where Yamato is, with shocking her, but wondering why she's not making any noise. And Big Mom realizing that nothing she touches makes a sound, as she ends up grabbing onto one of the bombs, which Yamato, realizing what's about to happen, and going to set off the others, ends up creating sort of ice wall or some sort of crater wall or something. But interesting, the explosion pushes back the flame, going, "Oh Lord Orochi." So I'm not sure if that means the flames have been taken out, combined with Big Mom's attacks and some of the things that Yamato's done earlier. I mean, there's going to need some confirmation for this a bit later. Anyway, the explosion causes enough of a hole to break down the bottom of Omegashima, as Big Mom starts to falling down, cursing her luck. Let's see. Asking Roger, why did he go and say that? Let's see. Pretty much the words he said at the beginning of the series about his treasure of the One Piece. Since he got the whole world to turn to the great era of piracy, and he goes off and dies of it. As a result, it caused all those kids to rise up over the world. She and Kaido, as well as the other powerful pirates of the Yonko, had to deal with them and all that stuff. As we get montages of Chopper and some samurai flying in the Derbis from like the destruction from like their fight earlier. Brock and Robin still jumping from the flames, Soul still a bit of collapsed. And him starting to follow the Derbis, showing that it wasn't Brock that was the Grim Reaper from earlier and all that stuff. As well as Kamizaki wearing her mask and playing the music as, let's see, as him and her and Orochi are being knocked around as well, but mostly Orochi, she's still playing her music. And she kind of just, as Big Mom wishes that, let's see, why didn't Roger just tell him about One Piece before he died? Does it even exist? Because she's hoping it will or not, but given all what it's done to her and all that point. But interesting enough, we cut to Raizo and, let's see, Fukurochu's, I always forget the name, but Raizo, let me just, let's see, Raizo, Raizo versus One Piece. Raizo versus Fukurochiku. Yeah, that's sorry. Just wanted to get that. Let's see, correct. It looks like he is just down for the count as he can't take the flames much more, burning and begging for water while Raizo's still standing. As Big Mama is just wondering where the One Piece is and what is it. And she's wondering someone in this country. As there's something about this as she's guessing that something about it must be in this country to know, as she's like so close, as she curses Kid and Law, saying they'll pay for this. And saying that don't you dare assume that this will kill her and all that stuff, as she lands just where, along with the bomb, causing a massive explosion that's, let's see, covered by Law's room silence and all that stuff. But to make the explosion, think of like a tailed beast bomb kind of explosion. As it's set, as the narration goes, Emperor of the Sea, Big Mom versus the New Generation, the battle on the performance floor under the dome, winner, Eustace Kid and Surgeon of Death, Trafalgar Law. As we see a massive explosion next to like the capital, but due to the silence, no one hears it and all that stuff. I'm wondering if it's, but yeah. As Kid and Law collapse after being exhausted and finally beating Big Mom, as their crewmates surrender, cheer this as this is huge news and all that stuff. With them the crewmates just crying and celebrating in joy that their captains have won. And the final chapter cuts to Yamato and Momonosuke, where as the underground Derbis has caused enough to allow her to see enough room to see Momonosuke. As she comments to Momo that a single bomb blew in the bottom of the island, and he managed to encase them in ice, so he avoided the armory exploding all at once, thankfully. And given how we saw that one bomb go off, it was enough to take down a weakened Big Mom, I'd say that was probably the smart thing to do. As Momonosuke glad that Yamato's doing so well, as he cannot leave his current tasks, so he tells her to hear what he has to say, and tells her that Shinichu is very close by, which Yamato is shocked by, as that's the elephant from Odin's journal. As Momonosuke reveals this huge info dump for a cliffhanger that it is indeed, and not only that, he was also a companion of Joy Boy who committed a crime 800 years ago during the Void Century, ending the chapter. Okay, first things first. This chapter, it finally confirmed that Big Mom has been defeated, though granted, not just straight away from like a kid's attack at the end of the last chapter, kind of like how with what happened with King and Queen with Sanji and Zoe. Instead, Big Mom, being of course an Emperor of the Sea, still was able to cling on, still holding on to her strength and all that stuff. Still, like, I don't not to underestimate her, because she's a Yonko of the Sea and all that stuff. So she tries to cling on as her like homing Misery tries to attack Law and all that stuff, as well as her trying to now use her devil fruit powers, the soul fruit, to now try and instead give them a choice of life. Life or slavery, trying to make everyone in the room, particularly Kid and Law, the option of either give her the lifespan or become her slaves. Clearly not much different from her usual life or death, where either way, either way, if you don't submit to her, you're dead. But still, so it's like either die or become her slaves, and you can see it starting, and you can see like Kid and Law's crew are completely afraid as it starts to take theirs, as well as the beast pirates. However, thanks to probably Law's devil fruit that prevented them, and also the fact that I do like how, just like Jinbei, Kid and Law have absolutely no fear of Big Mom, because they know they're going to beat her. She's down for the count. They just need to continue on with the move and all that stuff. And just need to finish her off as Kid tries to do another laser attack. But also, this is combined with a move that Law has based off his own, mentor, brother figure, father figure, if you will. Or probably mentor figure, really. Or benefactor, really. As he creates a room, silence, basing off creating one of his rooms with his OP fruit. To use to make the same ability that Kozen has with his devil fruit, which goes to show just how the OP fruit does live up to his name to the extent of being overpowered, because it can also use the ability of another devil fruit, though I think there's been a few other devil fruits that done it, but still, it must take quite a lot of skill to mimic the power of another devil fruit. But yeah, I'm curious to see if we ever see the silence fruit again in the series. I mean, imagine if Law finds an opponent that has that fruit. Possibly either in Shanks, maybe Big or Blackbeard's crew, maybe even some of them from the Navy. That could be like a personal opponent for Law and all that stuff, but who knows? But it depends what Oda wants to do with Law later and all that stuff. But yeah. But yeah, I do like how Big Mom's clinging to life and that stuff, but eventually Kid and Law's combined attacks are able to push her down. And she ends up even though she's desperately trying to get her homings to come and save her, but they're silenced. I am curious to see if they have been completely knocked out or just confused or wounded or something. But yeah, and she's so desperate for anything, she accidentally and she grabs a bomb. That would also lead to her eventual downfall, as well as, let's see, as she falls down to the surface, it also triggers a massive explosion, like I said, to like the scale of, like, I'd say, a tailed beast bomb. So for those who are probably saying that, those are wondering, like, okay, let's see, those are saying like kids in law's attacks should feel like shouldn't be enough to take her down. They also had the agony explosion of a bomb that could blow up the entire island, added with like the already weakened Big Mom, showing that, yeah, this is probably enough to take her out and all that stuff, showing us that she's taken out, she's down for the count. But I do like her sort of monologue as we do sometimes, as it's sometimes probably forgot. Let's see, sometimes not always brought up the fact that she was an enemy of Roger, and Roger did manage to steal the Poneglyphs from her and all that stuff. So she's kind of cursing and blaming Roger for her like defeat, in the sense that she's realized she's just about to somewhat be defeated, if you will, asking, why do you have to go start the great era of piracy and all that stuff, causing all these youngsters cause us such trouble? Let's see, given how, let's see, first like Luffy and Bage in Whole Cake Island, and now Kid and Law here in Wano, if you will, and perhaps a few others, but yeah. But hey, Big Mom, you've ruled for decades. You're bound to be uncrowned eventually. But she ends up asking, is the One Piece even real? What is it? Why can you just tell us, Roger? What's the secret behind it? What is it and all that stuff? As she probably realizes that she's just about to be defeated. She may never get a chance to see it and all that stuff, but she's still trying to cling on saying that she'll swear revenge on Kid and Law, saying that this isn't enough to beat her before, the massive explosion and all that stuff, causing her defeat. But anyway, also interesting a note that I mentioned earlier, as we got to see the Straw Hats, or let's see, from like the aftershock of the explosion and that stuff. We learn that Brock and Robin are not Action X's, and so was probably just hallucinating the Grim Reaper, or that's some other figure that he sees as the Grim Reaper. But whatever the case, he's starting to fall down himself and needs to be saved, most likely from Frankie, or maybe someone else. Maybe even Momonosuke as he's moving the island or something. But yeah. Anyway, it's interesting to note that in the Rise of Fukurocha fight, it seems that Fukurocha might also be down for the count as well, or at least starting to, as the fire is finally starting to get to him as he's pleading for water. While Raizo still stands tall, even as the flames burn him and all that stuff. It's also interesting that, good to see, so it might just be that Luffy versus Kaido and Izo versus CP0 are the only main fights left, though one thing to note is, like, the sort of living flame thing from Kanjuro, is that completely disappeared yet, as the big explosion from Big Mom and the Bisque thing made it shrink to a smaller thing, so that remains to be seen, but who knows? So I just have to get more info on that, because we'll have to wait and see the explosion and all that stuff. There's still the threat of those bombs exploding by the fire. But anyway, Kid and Law are probably now down for the count, which no surprise, as their crew celebrates and how this is big news, because yes, these two, since the Blackbeard pirates, are the first people to defeat a Yonko, though granted, this time more without by themselves, because, well, Blackbeard pretty much took down Whitebeard just as he, after doing a whole battle, a war of fighting, if you will. And Blackbeard and the crew just took him out when he was weakened and at his limit at that point. But anyway, let's see, the Derbys caused enough to, like, as we know, let's see, Yamato and Momo to talk, and that huge bit of, like, as she gives Momo the situation about the bombs are not exploding for the time being. No, yeah, I'm still waiting for those flames. But the main thing is the fact that Zenitsu, given the fact he's a 1,000-year-old elephant, it's been confirmed that he was actually a companion of Joy Boy. So, let's see, which I think some people had figured that might have been the case, but this has probably no doubt confirmed it and all that stuff. And it's apparently the reason, let's see, and 800 years ago he committed a crime. Let's see, which results in him carrying the Caesar Island. Though it's interesting. Though it's very curious what that crime might be, and it might be one of the things that the world government's trying to cover up. But we have to wait and see. But Momosuke is clearly giving us some more info on Joy Boy, and in many ways, many people who see Joy Boy gets One Piece fans excited because in many ways, he's like the Sage of Six Path was to Naruto when we first learned about him, about this mysterious figure from like 1,000 or so, or a few hundred years back, and all that stuff. So, yeah. So it's interesting to know that Joy Boy and Shinichi was like his companion, and I'm not sure if that means that it was a much smaller elephant back then, or roughly around the same size. But it seems like he probably had some adventures with, let's see, Joy Boy. I wonder if that means Joy Boy rode on him instead of a ship, or he just walked by. But who knows? But either way, we're probably going to get some more info on Joy Boy and Sunishu in the following chapters. But at the moment, One Piece is on a break next week. It's been a while since this happened, but it was bound to happen. But at least Oda allowed us to confirm that Big Mom has been defeated for the time being. So he didn't leave that on a cliffhanger at least, but instead this. Anyway, overall, I'll give this chapter a 9.5, 9 to 9.5 out of 10, a near perfect chapter as Kid and Law nearly finish Kid and Law finish Big Mom off. Her rambling about what is the One Piece and all that stuff. Mass explosion. A few questions to be left answer for, and a huge cliffhanger about Sunishu being a companion of Joy Boy. And more teasers of the Void Century. Overall, I enjoy this chapter, and I look forward to like the next chapter in 2 weeks or so, once we get an idea of what it's going to be. Overall, I'm Blue Star Saber, signing off. Thank you for joining me, and goodbye.